Hi everyone, David Aragona and Mike Beer here taking a very early look at the Breeders' Cup Classic. We're going to check out the top 10 contenders for this race and some early odds. Before we get into the main contenders for the Classic, though, I want to remind everybody that we do have DRF Breeders' Cup packages available as of this week. You can check them out at DRF.com in the shop. You can save up to $38 when you bundle everything in this package or the VIP package. You get the clock reports for both Breeders' Cup Friday and Saturday from Mike Welsh and his team. Also, betting strategies. I'll be writing those in conjunction with our California correspondent, Brad Free. So definitely check out the Breeders' Cup packages at shop.drf.com or using the QR code on screen. Well, Mike, let's show the top contenders for this Breeders' Cup Classic. And I think this is the most anticipated race of the Breeders' Cup this year. It's often the case with the Classic, but we have seen some great classics over the years. And typically the most anticipated Breeders' Cup Classics are when you have a really strong group of older horses and a really strong group of 3-year-olds, and you feel like they're going to settle it on the racetrack at the end of the year. It certainly feels like that's the scenario heading into this race this year.
Exactly. It's exactly what you want in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and it feels like we are going to get that this year, David. I mean, last year, the 3-year-olds were really good, and they actually ran 1, 2, 3 in the Breeders' Cup Classic, but the older horses just weren't there. This year, it's totally different because those 1, 2, 3 finishers are all back as older horses. They're all in good form right now, and not only are the 3-year-olds are really good, obviously they're headlined by Sovereignty, but don't sleep on a couple of other ones. This is a talented crop of 3-year-olds.
You can see here I put together my early morning line odds for the Breeders' Cup. I did peg Sovereignty as the early 8-5 favorite. And Mike, it does feel like he's going to be a pretty heavy favorite in this race, considering how strong the field is. I mean, he's coming in as the fastest horse with this 1:15 buyer that he earned in his most recent start, which we'll take a look at here in the Travers. And I mean, this horse has just been improving all year long. I mean, he showed talent right from the start, but it just feels like with each and every performance, he gets a little bit better. And this was just a jaw-dropping performance as he runs away from Bracket Buster, who, by the way, has come back and run a nice race since then. And if he repeats a performance like this, he's going to be awfully tough to beat in the 1st of November.
Exactly. He's just been, not only has he been good from the start, he's been just consistently getting better for a Hall of Fame trainer. And, you know, the other thing that he really has going for him is that the distance is no issue for this horse. 1.25 miles. It's just not a problem for Sovereignty. He seems like he gets better as the distances get longer. He's no longer a pace dependent horse either. He can get any kind of a trip in a race and still produce a huge finish. Yeah, listen, man, he's going to face some really nice older horses here. It's your call how short a price you want to take on him. And I think you're right to make him a short price on the morning line because it feels like he will get bet in here, but he should, man. He's a really, really good horse.
And that's a good point, Mike, about the versatility of his running style and how he's been able to place himself closer to the pace recently, because something I was noticing going through this field is there's not a ton of speed in here. And really, the 2 Todd Pletcher trainees, well, 2 of them, Fierceness and Mindframe, they feel like 2 of the fastest horses early. So I wonder if the pace of this race is going to be that fast. And I think that's a good segue into talking about last year's Breeders' Cup Classic, because as you were alluding to earlier, we've got the top 3 finishers from last year's Classic back in this race. We could take a look at the replay as Sierra Leone got the job done back in 2024. But one of the features of this race, Mike, are those fractions you see at the top of the screen. There was a supersonic early pace, and Sierra Leone certainly took advantage of it. Fierceness ran well within the context of the race, and also highlighted here is the Japanese horse Forever Young will be coming back for this race this year. But it's cool to see all 3 of these horses still coming back a year later, and feels like they're all still in great form now as 4-year-olds.
Yeah, that's the best part about it. Not only they're going to make it back to the race, but they're going to make it back to the race having not only in good form right now, but they've all improved, I think, from 3 to 4. So it makes the race that much more interesting. Sierra Leone is obviously the one who's, you know, way more pace dependent than the others. And so you do have to worry about trip as far as he's concerned. He's a really good horse. I think his form has really picked up in his last couple of starts. He's another one where the 1.25 miles is just not a problem for him. Have no knocks on this horse, David, but the trips are more important to him than anybody else.
Yeah, Sierra Leone's only won 1 of 4 races this year. As Mike said, pace dependent he is, but we'll see if it develops the right way for him in this Breeders' Cup Classic. Fierceness, he is coming off a victory last time out in the Pacific Classic over this Del Mar racetrack, going the 1.25 mile distance. We could take a look at the stretch run of the Pacific Classic. And I mean, Mike, Fierceness had some real trouble early in this race, and something that would have caused you to write off Fierceness earlier in his career, getting bumped around at the start, he was actually able to overcome in this race, winning over another one of of those 3-year-olds, Journalism, who was simply second best this day. But Journalism is a horse who has been beaten by Sovereignty a couple times, now beaten by the older horse Fierceness, but he is the picture of consistency, and you know that he's going to show up with a good effort in this race.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we'll see what we get from Fierceness. That last race was really impressive, I thought.
Mhm.
And it was nice to see him, overcome the trouble at the start there, which he usually doesn't do. And I think the other thing that I just found interesting about him, David, is listen, I still think he's really, really hard to trust, even with that last race notwithstanding. Yeah. He's a really hard horse to trust. But the thing that I find interesting about him is his Derby was obviously bad, but the last 3 times they've gone 1.25 miles with him, he ran great at all 3 of those races.
Yeah, Mike, that's what I was saying earlier. I mean, go through this field. Fierceness is speed, Mindframe is speed, unless there's the late addition of a horse like Phileas Fogg from New York, who I don't think currently is pointing to this race. Fierceness and Mindframe could have a chance to control this on the front end. We'll see. That would certainly be the kind of trip that Fierceness wants and would make him dangerous. Mike, we should at least give mention to Forever Young on this page. I mean, he is a horse who ran deceptively well in that Breeders' Cup Classic last year. We showed that replay already, but Forever Young, just like Fierceness, was up close to a very fast pace early. He ran a huge race over the winter in the Saudi Cup, beating the excellent turf horse Romantic Warrior from Hong Kong in that race. And obviously things didn't work out in Dubai, but he had a freshening, got his prep in for this, and he should not be discounted coming back to America.
Yeah, he shouldn't. He's another horse who can get the right trip in this race. He's obviously really good. And I know that, the 2 times they sent him over here, he ran really well in both of those races last year. I'm still, personally speaking, I'm still waiting for him to break through. And I understand that he ran a huge race in the Saudi Cup earlier this year. I don't even really know what to make of that race when you're beating a world-class turf horse. But either way, he's obviously good, David. I probably have more reservations about him than I do about some of the others, but I'm not knocking this horse.
Mindframe also on this list, looking to bounce back from a troubled start in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, which forced him to lose his jockey. We'll see if he can run in this race, having not had that intended prep last time out. Let's flip on over to the second page, showing the 6th through 10th ranked horses. And Mike, some more 3-year-olds on this list. Journalism, we already showed him in the Pacific Classic. I mean, he's been knocking on the door against some of the horses that have shown a little more brilliance than him through the second half of the season. But, he's going to show up with a good effort. And one of the storylines of this race is Todd Pletcher. He's got 4 potential candidates for this Breeders' Cup Classic, one of which is the 7th ranked horse Antiquarian, who I currently have as 12-1 on the morning line. He's just gotten better and better throughout the year, coming off this victory in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. We could take a look at the replay of that race. And one thing about this horse, Mike, is that he wants every bit of the 1.25 mile distance.
Yeah, that's what I like about him too. He's a true stayer, this horse. And so, even if you get a slower pace, I think he can stay close to it and still grind. If they go fast like they did last year, he will be running at the end of this race. A little bit underrated, headed the right way, coming off a career best performance here. He's certainly not a horse that you want to sleep on. I thought the other, the Mindframe, the whole deal with Mindframe losing his jockey last time in the Jockey Cup Gold Cup, it just makes him, in my opinion, that much tougher to evaluate, David. I mean, he's a really good horse, obviously, but you wanted to see, that felt like a great opportunity to find out where he really fits at the top of this division. We didn't get to see it.
Yeah, I know some people still have questions over whether Mindframe wants to go the 10 furlongs. We didn't get that answered last time, so he comes into the Breeders' Cup still having to prove that he could do that. I mean, Mike, this is a race with, a talent towards the top, some horses that are going to attract a lot of headlines. Probably not a race where most people are looking for a huge upset, but I mean, don't give short shrift to horses like Baeza, who's run well in that tough 3-year-old crop all year. Highland Falls, who was right there at the end of the Whitney 2 back behind Sierra Leone. I mean, Locked is a horse who ran a race back in March in the Santa Anita Handicap that arguably could make him the winner of this race if Sovereignty doesn't show up, but hasn't run that well since then. But there is just quality from top to bottom in this classic field.
Agreed 100%. I mean, it's certainly the one way to look at it is that it's a little top heavy because the, top 3, 4, 5 choices are really, really good horses. But these horses on the second page, easy to make cases for these horses. These are really good horses. And, a lot of different things can happen in a race like the Breeders' Cup Classic. You don't want to really sleep on these horses on the second page.
Yeah, not even on this list. We're only showing the top 10. Hit Show, the Dubai World Cup winner, he's pointing to this race. Baffert's Nevada Beach, who is a very likely raced horse. He's supposed to run here too. So this is going to be a stacked Breeders' Cup Classic. Definitely looking forward to seeing how this race ultimately comes together. And we will have a lot more content covering the Breeders' Cup Classic and all the other Breeders' Cup divisions on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. So make sure to hit the like button. Also hit that subscribe below this video to make sure you don't miss any of our updates moving on towards the Breeders' Cup in early November. Everybody, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to catch our top 10 list for the other divisions on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel.